What is going on, everybody? It is Monday, February the 8th, and it is time for my news radar. So it's pretty rare for a device to hit the market only to receive a brand new, fairly substantial feature months or weeks after that device's launch. Well, that is exactly what is happening with the latest Pixel phones, as they are about to receive a pretty big augmentation into the world of health tracking. That's right, the Pixel phones are going to gain the ability to read your heart rate using their cameras. Now, this is a feature that I've often wondered why it isn't more common, because simply placing your finger over your camera lens, which will probably smudge the camera, causing you to have to wipe that thing back off, they can actually use that to track these subtle color variations in your skin and thereby track your heart rate. It's not really that complicated, but it's a feature that you don't see all that often. But as this article on The Verge reads, Google is adding heart and respiratory rate monitors to the Fit app on Pixel phones this month, and it plans to add them to other Android phones in the future. Because again, there's nothing really special about the Pixel's cameras to allow them to utilize this kind of functionality. Theoretically, almost any camera should be capable of doing this. Now, this is also pretty cool. They're also adding the ability to track your respiratory rate. Now, this will allow the camera to watch your face and your body to track the subtle movements that you make while you're breathing to get your respiratory rate as well. Now, obviously, if you're someone like me that uses a smartwatch, most of these features are already included there, like heart tracking, but the respiratory rate thing is pretty cool. We have seen this on some phones in the past. I believe some Samsung phones actually had the same feature, but they don't seem to have them anymore. It looks like something that was added in and then removed at a later date, but still pretty interesting. So staying in the world of smartphones interacting with your health, there's a little thing called Apple Magsafe, which is their new system that isn't really new, where there's a little puck that will magnetically attach to the back of your newer iPhones that will allow it to charge. Well, apparently those magnets are cause for concern for some specific people, because we have this article from MS Power User stating that cardiologists confirm Magsafe iPhone 12 can deactivate implanted defibrillators / pacemakers. Not a good headline. Let's dig in here and see if there's anything to really be worried about here. So it looks like Apple actually did warn that the device may interfere with medical devices such as pacemakers and defibrillators. Apple noted, iPhone contains magnets as well as components and radios that emit electromagnetic fields. All Magsafe accessories also contain magnets, and Magsafe Charger and Magsafe Duo Charger contain radios. These magnets and electromagnetic fields may interfere with medical devices. But let's take this a step further, because Henry Ford Heart and Vascular Institute cardiologist Gurjit Singh has tested the actual effect of the Magsafe iPhone 12 on implantable defibrillators. He said, quote, "When we brought the iPhone 12 close to a patient's chest, the defibrillator was deactivated. We saw on the external defibrillator programmer that the functions of the device were suspended and remain suspended. When we took the phone away from the patient's chest, the defibrillator immediately returned to its normal function. We were all stunned," he said. "We had assumed the magnet would be too weak in the phone to trip the defibrillator's magnetic switch." If this is true and widespread, this is something that might affect a large amount of, or a relatively large amount of people. We see these sorts of warnings and things all the time. Hey, warning, this may affect pacemakers and so forth, but the likelihood has always been really low. But in this instance, and this is anecdotal, so we're not talking about a study with hundreds or thousands of people being tested, but an actual doctor putting an iPhone up to someone's pacemaker and watching it turn off, essentially. Not a pacemaker, a defibrillator would be the actual correct term there. That is actually pretty wild and something to maybe pay attention to if you might be affected by this, or if you have a loved one that might be affected by this. Maybe keep your iPhone away from that loved one. As noted in this article, some people do have a breast pocket that they might drop their phone into, and if they happen to have one of these devices, they may not realize the kind of risk that they are running. Apple probably needs to make a statement on this and clear the air a little bit. So let's talk about some leaks about the newest OnePlus phone. The OnePlus 9 Pro has just been leaked via YouTuber Dave2D, who's actually one of my favorite YouTubers. He did a video talking about how a person in his Discord server sent him a message saying, "Hey, I have photos of the OnePlus 9 if you want to see them." And this is what these photos show. It's actually pretty interesting because apparently OnePlus is really going to push hard to become a main player in terms of camera performance. And if you see here on this OnePlus 9, you see a Hasselblad branding. If you don't know Hasselblad, they are one of the most premium, highest-end camera makers on the planet. Their stuff is not cheap, and to be able to put the branding of Hasselblad on there might be indicative that some greater work has been done there. Now, we don't really know if this is just a simple branding thing or if Hasselblad actually has something to do with the camera module on the OnePlus 9. It's really too early to say that, but the fact that it's on there is definitely intriguing. Now, as far as what features this camera might actually have, we don't really have a whole lot to say just yet. He does mention in his video that there is a tilt shift mode in the camera, as well as a 3.3x zoom by default. Both of those features are pretty interesting. It'd be good to know what exactly the sensors are in there. It is also important to point out that back in the day, Motorola had a Moto mod, which if you don't remember, they had a phone called the Moto Z, I believe. It was a normal phone, but it was magnetic on the back, and you would attach these mods to the back of the phone, which would allow you to do all sorts of cool things, like attach this Hasselblad camera module, which would just stick to the back of your phone and would claim to give you vastly improved optical zoom and image quality, although the actual results were really not all that great. So it'd be really interesting to see if this Hasselblad branding will actually make a difference in the OnePlus 9. I've noticed with the OnePlus phones, their camera performance has improved pretty dramatically from phone to phone, and what OnePlus is saying is that they really are going to make a swing at being the best camera on any smartphone. So in the video, Dave also does mention the kind of strange look of the perimeter of the phone, where the edge will sort of curve up around the power button and the notification slider, which is a pretty strange look, to be honest. And it might be that this phone is a little bit thinner than usual. I doubt that it's because the buttons are physically larger, but kind of an odd look there. Other than that, it's a pretty standard looking 2021 smartphone, albeit with a kind of unique looking camera bump and camera layout. Personally, I'm excited to see where this device goes, if this thing winds up being a big step up over the prior OnePlus devices, in particular in the camera department. So guys, that's all the news I have for you today. Be sure to check back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next news radar. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.